Let's play a quick game. Close your eyes and picture the North Pole. What do you see? You probably see a thick, solid slab of ice, maybe a jolly figure, and perhaps a penguin or two waddling around. Well, I'm about to ruin that fantasy. You just made two major mistakes. First, penguins live exclusively in the South Pole, a common, almost universal scientific fox pass. Second, and this is the unsettling part, there is no land underneath the North Pole. None. Zero. The North Pole is nothing more than a giant sheet of ice, cold, salty sea ice, perpetually floating on an ocean basin thousands of feet deep. The South Pole, or Antarctica, is a proper continent. You can build a science station on solid rock. The North Pole, it's just watery disappointment. Why is one pole a massive, stable continent, and the other just a vast, frozen slushy? The answer involves a 200 million year-old game of continental bumper cars. To truly grasp this, let's strip away the ice. If you could magically vaporize all the ice at the South Pole, you would reveal a massive continent, larger than Europe. You'd find ancient, frozen mountain ranges, valleys, lakes, a full continent, just wearing a very thick, white coat. That ice is stable, because it's like a mattress on a solid bed frame. Now, do the same at the North Pole. Melt the ice, and you're looking down a dark abyss. You'd sail your submarine for thousands of feet before hitting the seafloor of the Arctic Ocean. The ice we see is almost entirely sea ice, which melts and reforms seasonally. This is the difference between stability and chaos. We need to rewind 200 million years to the supercontinent of Pangea. This is where the destinies of our two poles were sealed. As Pangea began to break apart, the continents drifted and rearranged themselves. Antarctica was pushed, quite literally, onto the bottom of the world. It settled, centered, right over the South Pole, becoming an isolated landmass surrounded by the massive Southern Ocean. The Arctic, on the other hand, was left as a deep basin. North America, Europe, and Asia all formed a ring around it, almost completely landlocking it. It became an ocean surrounded by continents. The frosting around the edge of the donut. If the Arctic is just an ocean, and oceans circulate warm water, why is it frozen at all? There are three main reasons. First, Earth's tilt. The North Pole spends half the year in total darkness. Second, the albedo effect. The white ice reflects over 80% of the weak sunlight back into space. But the third and most crucial reason is its landlocked geography. The surrounding continents act like natural breakwaters, severely limiting the flow of warm ocean currents that would normally melt the ice. This creates a self-reinforcing cold trap. The ice is hanging on, not by geological stability, but by a quirk of geography. The absence of a continent doesn't mean the seafloor under the North Pole is flat and featureless. It's actually a geological marvel. Beneath the floating ice, scientists have mapped vast, underwater mountain ranges, most notably the Lomonosov Ridge. These ridges and valleys are home to unique deep sea ecosystems and hydrothermal vents. They also hold a treasure trove of untapped resources: oil, natural gas, and rare earth minerals. Ironically, we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the seafloor of the Arctic Ocean. This is all because of that thick, shifting layer of ice that makes deep sea exploration nearly impossible. The lack of land at the North Pole has created a massive geopolitical headache. When there's no solid ground, who owns the rich sea underneath? Countries like the US, Canada, Denmark, Norway, and most aggressively, Russia, have all rushed to claim parts of the Arctic seabed. Russia famously sent a submersible in 2007 to drop a titanium flag on the ocean floor, marking a symbolic game of underwater. Capture the flag? The rulebook, the UN Convention on the Law of the Seas UNCLOS, allows countries to claim resources beyond the 200 nautical mile zone. This is possible if they can scientifically prove that the seabed is a natural extension of their continental shelf. This has fueled a high-stakes, multi-billion-dollar race for mapping and scientific evidence, turning a frozen ocean into a global flashpoint. Here is the crisis. The Arctic is warming up to 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. The floating ice is shrinking, especially the crucial summer sea ice, and this is where the North Pole's fragile nature turns catastrophic for all of us. When the white sea ice melts, it exposes the dark, open ocean water underneath. The white ice reflected sunlight. The dark water absorbs it. It's a vicious, self-accelerating feedback loop that is turbocharging global warming. This melting is opening up new shipping routes, like the legendary Northwest Passage, and unlocking resource extraction sites. The economic opportunity is massive, but the ecological risk is existential. The floating ice is more than just frozen water. It is the absolute foundation of the entire Arctic food web. The ice supports special algae. The algae feeds zooplankton. Zooplankton feeds fish. Fish feed the seals, whales, and polar bears. Remove the ice, and you don't just lose scenery. You yank the rug out from under an entire, interconnected ecosystem. The North Pole's weakness, its lack of land, is precisely why its fate affects the stability of the entire global ocean. Its lack of mass gives it overwhelming consequence. The North Pole is a quiet, remote, and frozen litmus test for humanity's future. As the ice melts, will the world choose global cooperation or geopolitical competition? So far, the scramble for oil and shipping dominance is winning. But, amidst the tension, there is a silver lining: scientific diplomacy. Research stations from different nations still work side by side, sharing critical data on ice thickness and ocean salinity. They are united by the common goal of understanding what's happening before it's too late. The North Pole, this patch of frozen, floating ocean, is speaking a profound truth from beneath the ice. We are all connected. The next time you're asked, what's under the North Pole? Tell them nothing, and then tell them everything. Tell them there's no land, no continent, and definitely no penguins. But there is a deep ocean. There is an entire global climate system in the balance. There is the thin, cracking crust of a planet in flux. The South Pole is stable rock. The North Pole is fragile water, and in that fragility, in that floating, melting slushy, the future of our entire world is quietly unfolding.